Welcome to this very special discussion as part of the Lost Votes, the Times of India campaign to get as many Indians to register and to vote in the 2019 elections as possible. Well, data tells us that there are nearly 400 million voters who register in India as migrants. This means people who are perhaps not living in the city or the town or the village that they were born in and then get classified as migrants. A lot of these people are unable to vote because they cannot travel back in time to cast their vote in the city of their origin. How do we save these votes? The votes that are lost simply to logistics. Joining me on the panel today, GVL Nasim Rao, spokesperson of the BJP. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Arima Sundaram, Senior Advocate for the Supreme Court. It's a pleasure to have you. Our other guest, S.K. Mindireta, former legal advisor to the Election Commission. Tara Krishnaswamy, co-founder of Political Shakti and Citizens for Bangalore. Trilochan Shastri, professor of the Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, and also founder of ADR, which we are all very, very fond of. And Shankar Raguravan, my colleague, deputy editor of the Times of India. I welcome all of you to this conversation, and I'm very glad to have you all here. We have to first talk about the legal point of view. I should be allowed to vote. It's my fundamental right to cast my vote. But is it necessary, Mr. Sundaram, for the government to be able to make it easier for me? Is that part of the government's duty?
Look, while every citizen, Faye, has a right to demand that they be not deprived of their right to vote, at the same time, I cannot see their legal standing or constitutional standing to say, now please make it very easy for me. Legally, certainly, the citizen can say, look, what you are doing is a hindrance and an obstacle to my exercising my right. Remove the obstacle. But it's another thing for the citizen to say, look here, I find this way it's more convenient than the other. Please do so. I don't see any citizen getting a fundamental right like that, or even a constitutional right.
So this is not a fundamental right.
Yes.
Technically, I think it's a technical point. Right to vote is a legal, it's a statutory right. It's not listed under the fundamental rights. But a right to vote is actually, a vote is integral to our democracy.
I have a slight difference of opinion.
Technically.
All right, We'll go one at a time.
In the ADR case,
Yes.
the Honorable Supreme Court has in clear ringing tones said that the right to vote is a constitutional right. So they have gone into the question of whether it is a statutory right or a fundamental right, and they have said that we the people of India do hereby constitute ourselves into something democratic republic. So the democracy is the very basic doctrine of the constitution, and democracy is unthinkable without voting.
Absolutely.
Therefore,
So
voting is a constitutional right.
I
Now,
said
whether
it's integral. I have no difference of opinion.
No, in addition,
I was only trying to make a...
No, because this really bothers me. You can't sort of say
it's
statutory right.
it's a...
see, what about, in addition to what Mr. Shastri has said, see, Article 326 of the Constitution says that every adult citizen of India
Yes.
on a particular qualifying date, which is 1st January of the year, is entitled to be registered in
As a
the
voter.
electoral roll for
Absolutely.
a parliamentary and assembly constituency. So it's to get the name included in the electoral roll flows from the constitution itself.
Yes.
So that way it's a constitutional right to be a voter. But as
So
I think without a vote there is no democracy.
Yeah,
So
you're
it is,
right.
Which
it
you
is
said.
the essence of democracy.
So are we in agreement that this is a constitutional right
Yes.
and an entitlement? We're entitled to cast our vote as citizens, and that should then bring us.
we have a duty to cast our
and we have a
vote.
Yes.
duty to cast
That's
our vote as well. So, you know, Shankar, you picked this up obviously as a massive campaign in the Times of India. A lot of the people, and we've done a discussion on Mirror Now as well. Unfortunately, while everybody agrees in theory that yes, this does make sense, practically it does hit a wall because there doesn't seem to be a practical solution. I want you to first tell us why the Times of India picked this up and why you think we can, or how soon you hope to find a solution.
The last bit is a little difficult to answer. I'm hoping the sooner the better, but let's deal with why to begin with. See, I mean, you look at the sheer numbers. In 2014, there were 834 million registered voters. 280 million of them did not vote. Now 280 million or 28 crore is larger than the electorate of any other democracy. In the US presidential elections of 2016, there were 183 million people who voted, about 100 million less than our non-voters. The BJP and the Congress put together got about the same number of votes as the non-voters. So that's just too large a number to be disenfranchised. Now, we do understand that not all 280 million could not vote. Some of them may have chosen not to vote. But there is reason to believe that that is the smaller part of the problem. The larger part of the problem is people not being able to vote.
Is disenfranchised the right word to use here? That's a little harsh.
Effectively disenfranchised, shall we say?
I'd like to add as a citizen.
If you tell me,
I will
Faye, let me put it this way. If you tell me it is your fundamental right to move around wherever you want to move,
yes,
and it is your fundamental right to vote,
work wherever you
but
want.
I will only let you vote when you are not moving. One or the other of the two rights is being curtailed.
Disenfranchised, Mr. Saurabh, do you agree with the use of the word?
I go back to what I started with. I don't see a disenfranchisement here.
Okay.
We have a right to exercise. We cannot be prevented from exercising that right. If anyone prevents us, they can be interfered with and stopped.
And I just want to bring in Tara. Tara, you know, urban Indians are considered notoriously uninvolved because of the low voter turnout. Now, I beg to differ. I don't believe that urban Indians are not interested. They're very possibly somewhere else.
Yes.
You know, before, when I was a business journalist, I used to take the trouble to fly back to Bangalore, vote, and then come back the same day. But in my current job, I'm required in the studio on a day that voting is happening. I cannot go back. So the challenge of shifting, changing data, getting a new voter ID is something that makes everybody a little uncomfortable, because what if you don't get your ID on time? But I want you to address the citizen's point of view here. Not everybody can go back to their hometowns in time to vote. Not everybody has the time, the money, the leave. So, do you believe that this is unfair to citizens?
I think there's a denial.
We'll just have her make a point again.
You have a right
Yes.
to have your name included in Delhi itself.
Yes.
So I want to address that. I want to address that. So there are two issues here from a citizen's perspective. We have a satellite town of Bangalore, or rather a suburb of Bangalore called Whitefield, where, you know, this is somewhat like Gurgaon, where you have a huge amount of investments coming in, huge new companies, new developments, a lot of new residents, migrants, right? It's filled with migrants. Lakhs of people actually attempted to register to vote, and the CEO there made a public statement saying thousands of papers have been lost. Okay, they've been lost. This is a public statement, is available on public record. So here is a case where, unlike your case, these people, migrants, actually chose to register, and due to inefficiencies in process, and this is not a one-off, we all know that. Kerala in particular is good because they do electronic registration only of voters. They don't allow paper registrations at all. But in all other states where there are paper registrations and you're shifting a vote or even doing new votes, this happens all the time, inefficiencies. So when there is an inefficiency in the system that is so endemic, it's preventing lakhs of people from voting, how can you say it's not a denial of rights? That's one.
Inefficiency is the denial of rights.
No, there's one more denial of right, which is in a parliamentary election, I am voting for a member of parliament whose primary job is to make laws for the country, not my constituency. So why do I have to be in my constituency? What is the connection? There is no connection at all.
This facility of online registration is not confined to Kerala. Rather, Kerala people are saying, why only the online registration? Why not the other methods also? So, throughout India, this online registration is now available for every village, for every city, for every constituency.
But would you address the point she raised? If we're voting for a national government, why won't I be allowed to vote?
In fact, you're allowed to. So long as you have residence in India, you can stand from anywhere. Exactly. But as a voter, I cannot vote from anywhere. What nonsense is that? Similarly, when I'm voting for the state legislative assembly, the candidate can be resident anywhere in the state, but the voter cannot be resident anywhere in the state. For local elections, it makes sense.
There's a fallacy.
No, see, now our constitution itself says that the right to get included in the electoral roll is confined to certain areas also, to constituencies. We cannot say that you get your name registered in Delhi and then you vote for a candidate in Kerala.
Yes.
You have to vote for
the candidate
of your constituency.
Well, other democracies don't do it
So
that way.
constituency registration is a must, and for that, you have to be a resident of that constituency.
Okay. Mr. Sundaram, you said there was a fallacy.
I fully empathize completely, and I fully sympathize with the cause that every citizen should be given that right, and we should find a way to do so.
Yeah.
However, to say that I am being deprived of the right because I should be able to sit where I am and vote anywhere goes against the very concept that you get yourself registered as a voter in a constituency. Now, if you decide to move, you get yourself registered in that place and the earlier place goes. So you're not deprived of the right to vote.
Yeah.
But
However,
that's not how
what
other
was-
democracies
let me
do
finish.
it.
However, what you were pointing out is really a complaint against the efficiency.
Yes.
Now, complaining against the efficiency, repair the efficiency system. It doesn't mean you immediately cast a right or a violation of a right. Maybe the lack of efficiency is violating your right, in which case you can always get redress to get the inefficient to become efficient.
Yeah.
But I won't say because of that you can challenge the whole system.
I'm not saying because,
one second, Nancy, let me get that
Can I-
efficiency statement addressed as well.
Can I
Yes,
just,
Shankar?
can I just address a point that both of them raised, which is that why can't you shift your vote when you move? I think
can.
what you're not recognizing, sir, is that there are many people who are not shifting in the sense in which you're talking about it.
correct.
There are people who, let's say, live in a village in Bihar, come and work in Delhi for 5 months in the year and go back to the village for 7 months in the year.
The armed forces.
Now, would you want them to shift that vote to Delhi?
I have a possible answer. A possible answer. Practically, I'm sure there are people who will tell me how impractical my answer is. But answer I would give is this. If I have a voting card, from whichever constituency I have it. Today you have the Aadhaar card, which has been subject matter of a lot of debate. And finally, I think almost everyone has that Aadhaar card. Now,
Almost.
if you have that voting card and elections are notified, have a date within 30 days of the notification of the elections to have final registration of all voters.
So,
Present your election card, get registered, and immediately it gets deregistered for that election in the place where it was originally.
No, but sir, I don't.
Now, there
But
might
one
be
second,
I
practical
don't want to
problems.
move because I still live in my village 7
No,
months.
in which
so I
case
have
find
a
your way
solution.
back.
Yeah.
In which case, if you don't want
So-
to move
No,
and you want
okay,
to
okay.
vote there,
Then
well,
it's
you
not
find
possible.
your way back.
Okay.
The question is being deprived of a right to vote. Not a question that I have the right to
Not a
vote,
convenience.
where I want to vote, when I want to
No, but
vote,
perhaps-
how I want to vote.
Right,
Perhaps
right,
there are
but one
limits
at a time.
in the year.
Mr. Rao, Mr. Rao, go ahead.
First of all, I think I will compliment you for taking up a very important issue. But although honestly the problem has been exaggerated, but sometimes it's important to exaggerate a problem to draw attention. We are certain, let's be proud of our democracy. About 65–70% voting in a country is something that to be proud of without being made compulsory. Many Western democracies with high levels of education have far lower levels of participation in elections. So let's also not take away the credit from the Election Commission of India. I think they have done humongous job. And even in remotest areas where there are only a handful of voters, they have gone to set up polling stations. I think, and the kind of voter awareness that Election Commission has created in several elections, I think it's really appreciable. Let's give them credit where it's due. Okay, now there are problems. And certainly solutions must be found to these problems. So I think it would be better for us to list out these various problems. One that Shankar talked about is a very important problem. Particularly people from states like Bihar in large numbers, UP, they go on construction works, they go and work for 3–4 months and come back. What can be a solution that does not lend itself to any manipulation? Here one major concern is we do not want to create a system which lends itself for massive manipulation. Let me tell you, political parties are very innovative. They know in many lakhs of voters they were made to disappear in Karnataka because the state election machinery has a big role in enlisting voters. And in my home state, Andhra Pradesh, they're conducting a door-to-door survey. A government is conducting a survey and asking them, are you happy with the government? Anybody who says no, not happy, they are silently cutting off their votes from the voter list. So it's our duty. Let us also accept our duty.
But you just
If
praise
my
the
vote-
election commission.
I think
if
the
so-
election
if-
commission is
if my-
independent.
I think you're giving
have it
ideas.
both
I will not
ways.
go
There
with
are-
that
You
statement.
can't
I will
have it
not
both
go with
ways.
No,
that
okay, there are,
statement.
no,
No.
in
No,
Karnataka
you are
now,
not right
no,
that-
one second.
Okay, one second.
This-
Mr. Rao, you
one-
pointed
one-
out one Congress government and would you say Andhra or
TDP.
Telangana?
This is
TDP,
Political parties. But I think that Mr. Vaidyanathan disagrees.
See, we don't delete any name. The election commission does not delete any name on any ground except on the reports of their own booth officers
No, but
and
these
the
booth
EROs.
officers, during
Not that
non-election
somebody
time,
has said.
they work for the state
No,
government.
Okay,
I
so
don't go by
this-
that
this
statement,
might
sir.
not give us a solution, but let me change the question to you. Parliament has discussed the possibility of proxy votes to
voting.
NRIs,
Yes.
saying NRIs should be allowed either proxy votes or postal ballots. Now, if you want someone or you want to facilitate voting from, say, New York or Washington or Chicago, why can't we vote from Delhi or Mumbai or Bangalore?
I think, you see, as it is, there is no unanimity on this. Gladly, Lok Sabha has passed this bill. It is pending in the Rajya Sabha. We hope it gets passed. If it gets passed here, this could be extended. But the problem is, we don't want to incent coming from outside.
What is the
certainly-
practical solution
No,
for
you see-
NRIs?
You see, for migrants in India, they can always transfer their vote. That
Yeah,
facility
that
is
is-
there.
Okay.
He
See-
talked about it, but for NRIs, they don't have that facility. They cannot vote
No,
outside.
I'm just saying practically, what is the practical solution being offered for the NRI problem? And can we look at extending that solution then?
No, I think that's not going to be acceptable to every no, that's not going to be acceptable because a lot of people might fake not being at the place of their residence. So I think it's difficult. I don't see that happening
So you're willing
immediately.
to trust NRIs but not resident
Not
Indians?
NRAs have a serious problem. They don't have a polling station outside the country. They cannot shift vote to the US and vote for Indian elections. Whereas Indians, migrants have that facility.
There are lots of solutions that other advanced democracies have been using quite well for many decades now. One example I'll give you. In the US, for example, election regulations are a state subject. They're not a they're not federal regulations, so different states have different rules about it. A given state says, for example, that when students come from another state into my state, right, they're here for a period of 4 years only. They don't want to shift their domicile, although they're resident in this particular state, which is similar to the migrant worker coming in. Forget Bihari migrant workers. There are sales guys that are posted for 1 year in a particular sales territory.
The armed forces and their entire families are unable to vote.
What they
in many
do is they
cases.
allow you, if you have a valid voter register, let's say I'm from California and I go to Iowa to study for 4 years. I'm allowed to vote back in California. In fact, some states won't even allow me to vote in that state because they say, look, you're not vested in Iowa. You're going to go back in 4 years. You're not vested in my policies. You're a Californian. So what I'm going to let you do is to register your voter ID and say, I'm going to vote back in California. And then you do an electronic voting. In this country, we can have a booth set up where you go look. In Delhi, you can have one booth where everybody who's registered remote comes and votes electronically. You provide the security. There is no question of
You would
snatching
have
the
to
vote.
have nearly 300 machines in that booth.
500 and
Well,
Well,
547
if you
machines.
want 28 crore votes,
No,
you have to have a lot of
you don't
machines.
have to have a single machine.
Yes, that's true.
It's all virtual EVM.
virtual.
There is no real
Virtual
EVM in that booth.
The
Correct.
number of press conferences that would happen about hacking of that machine, sir.
Internet voting is a no-no.
if I could comment
I
on what
think-
was just said,
Yes.
I have a view on this. You see, the basic premise on which you're functioning is that I don't want to change my domicile for the purpose of changing getting my vote.
Not I don't
We're-
want to, I can't.
We're not talking about your changing your domicile. I'm saying if an election is notified, you know at that time you're going to be there for the next 90 days or 120 days.
True.
At that stage, you're given a window of 10 days to go register for that election. If I can just finish what I'm saying. You're not changing any domicile. All you're saying is 90 days I'm going to be here. I'm talking about migrants who are there for 5 months, like you said. They register automatically in their original registered place. It goes off.
Yes.
That's one.
That's-
Two, comparisons, I'm afraid, are completely odious here.
Okay.
They're completely odious because of two reasons. One, don't compare us with the United States, with England and other countries. There are few axioms. One, we have a huge population. Two, we have a huge number of electorate. Three, we have a huge amount of migrant population. Other countries don't have the same problem at that volume. Take the United States, you might have a big electorate, nothing compared to India. But the difference is, there the migrant is not like ours. Most people are in a state, live in that state, and move around in that state. The joke used to be that usually the American hadn't gone more than 100 miles from his own home. Now, unlike India, where you have the people from Bihar, you have the migrant laborers, the casual workers. You don't find that in the United States. Don't start comparing. We have a unique problem. Let's deal with it.
Okay, let me actually just take this, before we run out of time, into the conversation that we ought to be having. Is it, so now that everyone agrees theoretically that people should be facilitated to vote if they want to, everyone agrees theoretically that people who are migrants who cannot come back, we should find solutions. Would it be fair to say to the panel that we are being disenfranchised right now by inefficiency? Because I will give you examples of people, again in the Karnataka elections, who actually moved from one constituency to another in the same city. They were asked to surrender their voter IDs in constituency number 1, and they were never issued IDs in constituency number 2. And on the day of the election, the person they were talking to in the BBMP office kept saying, no, go check, your name will be on the list, you will be able to vote, you don't need the physical card, but the name was not on the list. So it's actually what we're all talking about is perhaps that inefficiency, because I know I keep going back to the website and it says surrender your existing card, and then I'm like, I don't know if I want to surrender the card that I have out of fear that I will not be given another one and I'll be left out of the election.
There is no guarantee that you will be allowed to vote. There
No,
are
but
many
if I
people who have
surrender, they will take my name off the list in my place of birth. But I just want to bring in Professor Shastri. Is there a solution to the inefficiency? Because that's effectively what we're talking about.
See, I have some reservations. Okay, he has not spoken at all.
Give him a chance.
Yes.
No, there's nothing to say. I mean, as a civil society organization, we are very much for allowing citizens to vote wherever they can. There are 3 arguments which have been made right here. One she made, that I can live in Delhi and stand from Assam, but I cannot vote from Assam if I am a resident of Delhi. This is giving more weightage to the representatives than to the people. The other point that is making, it will be misused. Who is misusing it? The citizen is not misusing it. It is all the other systems. So what, if I have to paraphrase, हम लोग चोर हैं, हम तो चोरी करेंगे, इसीलिए हमको वो नहीं करने देना.
No, we
then you stop doing the wrong thing. He is publicly admitting as a politician that political parties will do wrong things, and therefore we will not allow this.
I expect you to have some respect. I expect you to have some respect.
You are only saying openly.
No, you claim to be a civil society activist.
Anyway,
and if this is the terminology you use, you have no business to be here.
Okay,
You have no business to be
politician here.
I am a citizen of
If you use
India.
such terminology, you have no business to be here.
No, Professor, let me rephrase.
But they are saying that we are going to misuse it, therefore we will not allow the citizens to vote. It's a public statement.
Professor, let's talk about this. The fact that, yes, the Election Commission has a humongous task on hand whenever there are general elections in our country. It's complicated. Chhattisgarh, for example, is very different from voting in Kerala. So every location needs a different solution. And given the amount of debate that has happened over EVMs and whether they're safe and whether they can be hacked or not, and whether or not we found a conclusive answer to that question.
No, there is an answer. When I win the election, the EVMs are good. Yeah. When I lose the election, the EVMs are bad. It's so obvious. And, if we trust the people of India, if we think that all the people of India are going to misuse it, we'll never find a solution, because some guy somewhere misused it. But 99% of the people of India are good. I think we should allow them to vote.
Do you agree with the case that NRIs have a deeper problem than resident Indians who are migrants? And we need to find a solution for them.
Well, they are all wonderful people. They are living in America or wherever. But I think people who have a commitment to this country and who are living here, they should have a equal or more right to vote than people who are living
I agree. It's just that they are less in number.
We are not, nobody is against any particular group. We need to have viable solutions. Okay, you want to stand for election in Assam. If you are a Delhiite, you will have to go and file your papers before the returning officer. You cannot do it over internet or email. So there are certain systems, there are certain safeguards available. Okay. And you see, there are going to be certain attempts by political parties. I think are there not chore among NGOs? Most of the NGOs are chore. So do we want to make, do you want me to make such statements?
No, no,
Most of the NGOs are
one second, gentlemen.
They're doing it for the sake of...
It's not that kind of debate.
Mr. Rao, if I may respectfully say, this is nothing to do with, you know, whether somebody is a chore or not. Let's leave that aside.
Yeah, there are bound to be
the important thing is whether citizens' voting rights can be decided, voting conveniences, voting abilities, capacities can be decided based on what political parties do or don't. That is not even a consideration.
So if we were to simplify the argument, and I'm not saying that NRIs are more important than us or less, or more equal or less equal than us. I'm saying this, if the government thought it was valid, the government of the day, to table before Parliament and pass through Lok Sabha a solution for NRIs, the practicality of that solution, why can't we examine it for resident Indians as well? If you're saying they can be trusted with a proxy, can't I be trusted with a proxy?
I think any discussion is certainly the bedrock of a democracy. If there are viable solutions coming from this group, from anybody, they are welcome. And they need to be debated. And we have evolved over the years. We don't have the same system that existed 30 years ago.
Mr. Bindra, you had a point on the inefficiency.
Inefficiency is not only the part of the electoral machinery, but on the part of the voters also. See, now everyone knows, the whole country knows, that another 3-4 months the elections are due. The electoral rolls we have now finally published in all states, in all union territories. For every polling station, there is a voter list now, finally published. As Mr. Sundaram has said, that gives some window. That window is available today.
Yes.
You can just check up your name. I tell you, the name of every voter, I think it's now nearly 88 crores or something. They are all available on the internet, in our websites.
Yes.
So you can, from your house, from your neighborhood, you can check whether your name is there or not.
From your mobile. I've just sent it from my mobile.
And Mr. Sundaram said, give some, the election process itself, the whole process from the date of notification to the date of poll, as per our laws, takes only 25 days. So there is no period for 30 days for period now is available. It's a online open registration till the
and deregistration in another place.
This whole process
In the opposite.
this whole process goes on.
So just one more line.
Okay.
You see, the migration is mostly from rural to urban. But you have a voter, mostly.
Urban to urban also.
Okay, but within urban, how many of us, I think, look at the voter turnouts in Mumbai and Delhi. Does it not tell you that we have not been as responsible as we expect
That's my argument. The
That is the
cities of
problem.
Mumbai, Delhi, Gurgaon, Bangalore are full of people from other cities right now.
No, those who are registered, I'm talking about those who are registered. How many of them are voting?
Because they are living in Gurgaon.
No,
sir.
are they innocent? Can they not check their names on the voter list? I think don't give excuses. Where we have a duty, let us accept that some of us also have failed in our duty. It's not good to just blame the authorities.
See, why on the data poll only we just wake up and say, oh, my name is not there, I have a card. But there is time now. You check up.
So I can give you examples of people who started the process 3 months before an election and still did not get their names moved on.
That of course now
actually, of course, when the Constitution gives you a right,
final roles have come now.
It also imposes a duty on you to diligently exercise that right.
So actually, let me ask this question. For someone who was not able to vote because of an inefficiency, can they file an FIR
According to me, yes. Okay. Maybe not an FIR, I don't know whether it will be criminal, but certainly
a violation of fundamental...
I'm going on a different issue. There's certainly a legal, they have a legal right.
Okay.
They have a right to say, the state has deprived me of a valuable right. And then law will take its course. But if you ask me, are you therefore being deprived of a valuable right if it's done on account of ineptitude of the state is liable to you for that.
And I just want to take this forward, Shankar, and what Mr. Rao was saying, basically, the responsibility on the citizen and the fact that urban voters don't vote because they're lazy or uninvolved. Do you want to respond to that?
Yeah. Jivel, my answer to that would be, the day you've ensured that everybody who wants to vote can vote, then you will actually get a measure of how many people are not willing to vote. Till that happens, We are just shooting in the dark when we say, oh, there are so many people who are apathetic.
Minimum vote.
You see, I think it's a common observation, and also I think it's in Telangana, for example, we had elections over the weekend. You have a Friday election. I would like to give this advice to the election commission.
No, that we always take care.
Please do not have elections on Friday and Monday, because a lot of people take a long holiday. I think as a responsible citizen, I must also feel it's my duty. Those who have been deprived of their vote, I think they certainly have a voice. Their voice gets heard on television. But those who don't go out and vote, it doesn't really get reflected.
Okay, could we have people just raise your hands in this room if you are a migrant, which basically means you're currently living in a city that you were not born in?
I always say Delhi is a city of migrants.
See, I was born in another country, Pakistan now.
No,
so
there you are your first voter.
And we gave you a vote.
Yeah.
And
they will throw me out.
have you, and how many of you have managed to move your voter registration as well?
I have.
What? I have not done. No, about.
Can I say it on a lighter vein?
Yes.
I found it more difficult to move my voter registration when I shifted houses within Delhi
the city
and moved from one constituency to another within the city.
Yes.
That I found difficult. To move from Chennai to Delhi, I found very easy.
Is there, are we in agreement that there is inefficiency?
I think so. I mean, we actually respect the Election Commission. We have worked with them very closely so this is not to say that, but there is always scope for improvement, and while the citizens at fault and the Election Commission is doing a great job, I think the process of many of the suggestions needs to be streamlined, and I think the Election Commission in the last few years has done a good job of putting things online. We'll have to find out from the user's point of view a little bit more, but we have enough stories like her, she just said, of people who have made heroic efforts to get themselves registered, and it has not happened for whatever reason. So, well, maybe they will have to go to the court or somewhere and say that they have been deprived of a right.
All right, I just want to spend a few minutes examining Shankar's suggestion of an online system. And I believe the suggestion you put forward also on television when we had this discussion was sort of like an online exam module. Do you want to take us through it?
Yeah. So, see, some of the concerns that have been expressed about online voting. How do I know that you're voting of your own free will? That somebody is not holding a gun to your head and making you vote the way he wants you to vote. So, which is why the idea is that you replicate the polling booth in the sense that you replicate a sanitized environment where only the voter enters. Nobody else can enter with him. So then you're as sure as you are in the physical polling booth. After that, you have virtual EVMs. Like I would take an online exam for, say, CAT or whatever, I take an online EVM from my constituency, and I vote for my constituency. As Mr. Mehdi was saying, my name is already there on the electoral roll. It is not my claim that I am from Buxar. The electoral rolls of Buxar show that I am from Buxar. I have a voting ID card to prove that I am from Buxar. You just need to verify that I am who I am claiming to be, and then give me the right to vote there.
One thing I would say. So far as the technology part is concerned, Election Commission is competent to provide all these online voting and other things. We are prepared. We can do that, no problem. Question is of acceptability by the political parties. No,
So,
if
but
you
that was
vote,
my question,
if you press a button here, we are recording the vote here in the voting machine. You have seen how much drama is being played nowadays. So if that thing is not being accepted by the people, so many doubts are, how will you say that I cast a vote from here and it goes to Kerala, and then nobody will hack, and some people may say Russia, some people may say Russia did that, some people may say Chinese are hacking on all.
No,
Will
no,
you accept that one?
That's what the US fixes, sir, by saying that.
Can you accept that system?
No.
You will not. No political party will
Okay,
accept
so let's
that.
actually go one by one. Let's go one by one.
For the skepticism on EVMs, by the way, should go to.
No, that of course. That's a very old. That's an old story.
I am opposed to any kind of voting without a paper record. And they have done EVM, now they have paper trail. Every vote you cast, now there is a paper trail. So it's not the same EVM that we objected to. I objected to paperless EVMs and I object to online voting, electronic voting. This is not a standard. Cannot be followed.
You have not heard the whole solution.
No one in the world.
Okay, fine. Yeah, okay. Tara.
That's why the world does it differently. And the way they do it is, if you're a migrant voter and you want to vote in your remote constituency, you have to register ahead of time in that virtual polling booth saying, this is my voter ID card, this is the vote that is going to be cast from Delhi for this constituency in Kerala. Every migrant doesn't have to take time off, get on a train and go to Kerala. But they do have to register. If I'm living in Delhi, I have to register that my vote is in Bangalore, but I'm going to vote for Bangalore for this certain particular Bangalore Central constituency here. Ahead of time, there's a 30-day period that is given to it. Let me finish the solution, okay? So the government has the Election Commission has a list of all remote votes that are going to be cast. Their voter IDs have already been validated.
I think we have to remember that the EVM as we have it right now functions like a calculator, right? It only calculates whatever buttons have been pressed.
Sure,
then it's finally opened and that seal is cut and the button is pressed and it gives you the total for that one EVM. It's not connected, it's not all connected to one server that can be hacked. When you do this, Delhi will have to communicate with Kerala in some way. How do we keep that from being intercepted?
Yes.
And hacked and, you sourced in some way, because then there's no strong room you can lock that up into, which is how the election currently functions.
Which, by the way, in the US is not done through EVMs, as you know. They're not fans of electronic voting. So these remote people actually send in postal ballots, which in India is unheard of.
No, but can you imagine if India would...
283 million postal ballots.
Just one thing about the postal ballot.
Yes.
See, in our system, the list of candidates becomes final on a particular date. Then the poll takes place on the 14th or 15th day.
It's too close.
Can you send a postal ballot paper to a voter to say a remote village in Kerala from Delhi, and then expect that to come back to you also?
But
by
then
the time of
EC should move the date.
No.
Numbers.
Why are you choosing
the bulk of
We're talking. See, to do it for 500,000 people, it can be done. Correct. Do it for 300 million people.
See,
this
difficult.
All right, I just want to open this up to the audience. We'll take 2 or 3 questions.
Even for the service voters, they were finding it difficult.
If you would please stand up, sir, we'll get a mic to you. Yes, the young man there.
My admiration for the army has gone up. Thank you, sir, for a very wonderful statement. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Dev. I'm a corporate banker from ICICI.
Yes.
My dad was in police and he used to cast his vote all the time through ballot vote, postal ballot. So what I feel is that if you extend some provisions for postal ballot, people from other places also can vote. I tried voting through that, but I was unsuccessful because it was under those provisions I was not covered. So,
Mr. Mendel?
Where was he? I don't know.
He says everyone should be covered with postal
No,
ballot.
that is
exactly
I have explained. I have already explained. See, we cannot send a postal ballot paper, and we don't expect that to come back to us within 15, 16
No, but
days.
then change the election dates. No, the EC can't set the election dates in such a way that people can't
election
vote.
date. If you prolong the campaign period and the date of poll is postponed, then that has another difficulties. Not merely it's question of money, it's question of law and order. So many questions are involved in this one.
The model code
See, we started with 30 days period in the beginning. Then we brought it down to 21. Now it is 14 days. So because people rather want that this period should be cut short, because whole work comes to a standstill virtually during that period. So we can't extend.
Yes, we'll take one more question. Is there anyone else who wants to ask a question or make a statement? Yes.
My name is Badal. One simple question with regards to shifting of your voter ID card from one location to another is that you have to have a proof of address. So last month when I was in Bombay and working on this campaign, etc. So I asked the driver, ki aap kahan se hain? He was from Uttarakhand. He was there in Bombay for the last 6 years, but he stays in a shared accommodation with 6 other people. He does not have any proof of address. And obviously the migrant labor who, go from Bihar to Punjab and other places, how will they have any proof of address? So how do they get their voter ID cards, changed?
Yes. Yes.
I have two answers for this. One is proof of address can be done through various other ways.
Yeah.
This can be notified.
Yeah.
For example, employer certificate, things like this.
Yeah.
That's one. The other thing what I was suggesting was something else. Assume I'm there. I have a voter's card already. I have my Aadhaar card if it counts, but I have my voter's card already. I am a registered Indian voter.
Yeah.
I go there and I say, look here, no elections are going to be notified. I'm here for the next 4 months. Please register my existing card here and take it out there.
Yeah.
So I still remain only with one vote. But I'm a person who always had that one vote because I have a voter's card. I'm saying I will exercise it in this constituency.
So that is
in which
permissible.
case you don't
So your
need-
physical presence is proof of
That's
existence.
it. No, and my choice.
Yes.
And if I'm not going to be there that day, I miss my right to vote.
Yes.
But I have one card, one vote. Wherever I exercise that vote, one card, one vote.
See, I was just going to add one thing.
Yes. Just one second.
I was just going to add one thing. There may be some difficulties, some people may have created some problems for them. But thousands of people in Delhi, I have myself assisted them. They are homeless. They are sleeping on the pavements outside the railway stations, Delhi.
Yes.
We have registered them as voters in Delhi because our people have gone there. They have seen, yes, for 3-4 days they have seen a particular
But
man
isn't
is
an
sleeping here.
address necessary to register?
Pardon?
How do you register them? What address goes on the card?
No, platform number so, or road number so and so, lamp post number so and so. I have myself done that in Calcutta. On the main roads we have gone at night. We have seen if family tells us that we come and stay here. Of course, during the day they go for begging or they do whatever do. But at night they come to a particular lamp post. They sleep there. We visited 3 or 4 days. We found yes, the whole family is living there. So we registered road number so and so, lamp post number so. So we registered. In Delhi we have registered. Thousands of people we have registered. Thousands of people sleeping on the rickshaws outside the railway station, bus stand, ISBT. We have registered.
So it is again we come back to inefficiency and intent or the lack of it. So it's perhaps.
I think one solution I can think of, I don't know if it's viable, is like say in many states we have public service guarantee acts that have been promulgated, that for every particular public service government can take so many days, and if they do not perform there is a cost imposed. So can we have this imposed on election registering authorities? If they do not register a vote despite giving information, I think there must be a cost imposed on them.
But that of course, as she has said, there may be some inefficiency. There may be
for
some
that I think let a cost be imposed.
Punished. Yes. Would you be okay with that? It doesn't fully solve your problem.
No, because again and again I keep coming back to this. I mean, what you talked about, that I get deregistered there and I vote here. But I have no stake in this place.
I don't want to vote here. I
just happen to be here on
that would be a difficult
There we have a
change.
fundamental difference. And the reason for this fundamental difference is, I believe you have a right to vote. If you want to decide where exactly you want to go and vote, make the effort to go there. But don't be deprived of your right to vote.
Correct.
And let's not also forget the reality of the situation. In a Lok Sabha election, most of the people are voting for a party.
Yes.
They are not voting for the individual candidate. You can go to whichever constituency and vote the way you want to.
So
My
Tara,
party
your
does not
argument
even exist here.
Totally incorrect.
No, 1 second.
First of all, the state in
you're-
which I am in may not have the party that I.
No, no,
even
exactly.
going by
One
your
second,
own logic. Okay.
You actually are contradicting yourself right now because you said that in a general elections we vote actually to choose a member of parliament and not for a specific constituency. So why am I constituency bound?
Correct.
Yes.
So by that argument,
Yes.
if you are choosing a member of parliament, you're actually looking at someone with a great track record in parliament, someone who will ask the right questions, someone who will vote on the right bills, someone who will show up in
Correct.
parliament and has
Correct.
good attendance. So all of these things are not
Correct.
constituency based.
I'm not saying they are. He said you're voting only for party. That's the part that I'm
I was giving that
contradicting.
as a-
I
Saying
think my
that-
answer, what I said was, you have a vote I can exercise it anywhere in India. But if I say I only want to exercise it in so-and-so place,
Because I
so
happen to
please
live
bring
there,
a whole system.
Yes.
So
Okay.
please bring a whole system into place to enable me to do so. My answer is, if that's so important for you, you make the effort to go back. Otherwise, you're not being deprived of your vote, which is what I started with. You have a right. That right cannot be prevented. But it's not for you to claim, make it easy for me to exercise.
Okay.
It's not
yes.
about easy, sir.
Professor,
No,
Professor
vote in
Shastri,
any place
last,
you are.
Last word to Professor Shastri, yes.
I think the campaign is a very good campaign.
Yes.
And precisely for the reason that he's mentioning that the population which is not voting is more than the population of Western Europe. One way saying how can we handle it, but I feel that precisely for that reason we should handle it. I think everybody in the panel seems to agree that we have to find a solution.
Yes.
The arguments are what is that
solution?
solution?
Yes.
And I'll just say one more thing. With the growth of technology, of course, there is always a danger of hacking, and I would like to thank the Colonel there for
Yes.
saying that we should, be willing to take some risks. We have KYC, we have Aadhaar, we have mobile phones, we have gas connection. There are 25 other things which they are using. So use any one of them
any
to
one
this
of
thing,
them.
and one man, one vote, one card, one vote, one person, one vote.
One doesn't have to hack those identities.
Yes.
What is hacked is the ultimate vote.
Yes.
So I think it's throughout the world, it's a non-acceptable.
So I think in conclusion, everybody
Easy but
agrees
difficult.
there is a problem. Everybody agrees we ought to have a solution. And I love the fact that we've had this discussion and we've made some headway. I do hope that the government will take a closer look at the issue with the proper intention of perhaps providing as many people as possible with the opportunity to vote, especially in 2019. We'll have to wrap here. I want to thank our panelists for giving us time. It was a riveting discussion. Thank you. Thanks for watching.